Okay, welcome back. Welcome back. Last time we were here together, folks, we worked on flowers. That we did some sunflowers and some, I believe it was tulips, sunflowers and tulips. My live student here, Mary, helped me out. Yeah, we did sunflower and some tulips. Worked on some flowers, some color techniques with blending in, making leaves. For those today, we are going to work on cool colors. We're going to create a landscape here, and we're going to use cool colors. Right now, I have my palette loaded with white, uh, cobalt blue. If you have a forest green, anything close to forest or olive green, and raw cyan, and I have violet here. So we'll be using these today. And as always, we'll do two phases. We start painting from the back to the front. So we're gonna work on our background today, lay our sky out, make some nice cool things happen with some trees and some water and a little bit of ice and snow. So that's what our mission is for today in this next paint session. Here we go, let's get started. So again, I'm gonna moisten my brush. And hopefully, folks, if you haven't gessoed your canvas yet, this is a good time to gesso now. Get your brush moist. I have also a little gesso here that I'm gonna actually mix in with my white, because we're gonna be doing like a wet on wet right now with the sky, till we get it nice and cool like we want it. So I'm just gonna evenly spread this gesso with this white mixed in all over my surface of my canvas. Lay down our foundation. And again, the reason why we're doing this is we want to cover and fill in the teeth on the canvas, the little detailed texture on the canvas. It kind of takes in your paint. So if you cover that up with some gesso and white to start with, your paint will flow a lot smoother on the surface for you. And again, you want your brush to be moist, but not wet, because then you'll get drips. So I want to keep this pretty wet because I want to play with the sky and really get a lot of color in the sky. So that's why I'm mixing a little bit of gesso in with the white. Okay. Oh, no problem. Do you need some gesso?
No, I had already gessoed this at home. That's why.
Oh, gotcha.
That's why I thought you had told us to do.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll just have to remember to bring it in.
Yeah, if you
I'll keep it in my box.
Gotcha. So I got a nice wet surface here. So now I'm gonna take my brush and I'm just gonna add in a little blue, little cobalt blue here and there, like so. And now I'm just gonna kind of play with that and blend that right on and make us a nice, cool sky. Just keep your brush flowing, keep it moving back and forth, crisscrossing X's. Just want to let that paint dance around and mix nice in there. And it should be still wet. It should be pretty nice and wet. Okay. I'm gonna leave some dark spots purposely. Okay. Now I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna use my palette knife so I don't dirty my brush too much. I'm just gonna take a little bit of raw cyan. And I'm gonna add that raw cyan in there too. A couple places. If you can't see me for 1 second, we're just getting some technical issue.
Get the ring.
Now I just added a little bit of more blue on my brush. I'm coming back and putting more blue in, fanning that blue back in, cobalt blue. Got this nice sky back here. I'm just lightly going back and forth, just blending this in, barely touching the canvas. Okay. Now I'm gonna take my brush just a little bit. It's the corner of the brush. I'm gonna add some violet over here. Just a little hints of violet. Put some nice color in the sky, but keeping it cool at the same time. Nice neutral, cool sky. I'm just keeping my brush flowing. I'm barely touching the canvas. Not much paint. I'm just kind of spreading it out, letting it dance together, letting things happen. Okay. Now I'm going to take my brush, clean it off a little bit. And I'm going to add some of this forest green in my sky now. Again, got my brush moist. I'm just taking very little green, just on the tip of my brush on my edge. And now I'm going to add that green in. All kinds of reflective color in the sky. I'm dancing this green around right in there. And you want to very lightly touch the canvas. Just keep on dancing it on in there. Keep your brush moving nice and fluent. Okay. Now I'm going to bring in some more white. Nice colorful sky there. A little bit more blue.
That's not like a finished product. What you have. Mine's darker.
Darker, you might have to come in.
Oh, yeah.
White, no problem. No. Wash your brush out, and then if you come back with white, it'll tone down for you. Adding in some more blue. Okay, so I got a lot of things, a lot of colors happening here, but they're all dancing together. You shouldn't see any separation of color. It should be a flow where you can't tell where the next color stops or starts. Okay. I'm just gonna go down a little bit farther down here. A little bit farther and put some more color in here. Now it really feels like a cool day. Cold day, excuse me. There we go. And if you lost your color from blending, let it dry a little bit, rinse out your brush, and then spread your color with just a regular moist brush. And what'll happen is you'll come in with a clean brush, and the colors, the pigment that's already on your canvas, you can work with that. If it's coming out too dark for you, that is what you do. Or if you're losing color, like I kind of lost my violet in here, so I'm gonna come back with a little touch of violet and give some violet back down here and bring that violet value back into it. Okay. Now I got my violet back in. Okay. All right. Cooking with gas now. So I'm pretty satisfied with this guy I have. So now I'm gonna start laying down some mountains. And with that, I'm gonna keep my raw sienna. I'll keep my raw sienna. And I'm gonna add just a tiny bit of violet in. And I'm gonna mix that together. And now I'm gonna bring in some white to tint that down.
Okay, so I have cobalt blue and burnt sienna. Okay,
Yeah,
green.
burnt sienna. Do you have any raw sienna?
No, I have burnt sienna and what's the other one? Ombre. No, I don't have raw sienna.
Not a problem.
Burnt umber, and burnt sienna. Which one should I use then?
Use
The
the
closest.
burnt sienna.
Okay.
And what you'll do is just take a little white and just mix it in and tone it down.
With the burnt sienna?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And then plain white too?
And plain white. And if you have a little gesso just to mix in with your white.
Okay.
We want to keep this fairly wet.
I do. Okay.
Okay. So I'll just go over the process again. I'll just do another layer. No, not a problem.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. So I have my brush nice and moist. I came in with the white canvas and I just did a little bit of, like I said, gesso with the white, just to keep it moist because we want to do a wet on wet right now. And then what I did was I took the corner of my brush, and when I want to add some color into my sky, I put a little tip of sorry, give me a second. I did a little tip of violet. And then I just added little specks of violet in and mix it right on around in there.
Okay, but my first layer is the white with the gesso mixed in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm just very, very lightly touching the canvas when I'm adding these other colors in. With the violet, the green, and the raw sienna. So I have a nice, you should have a nice, colorful, cool sky. Once again, I apologize about the little tech problem.
That's okay.
We are back. Now I'm just adding some raw sienna and just letting these colors dance around, work themselves out. Keeping my brush lightly touching the canvas, but still moving.
Green and violet.
Want to barely touch the canvas when you're adding in these colors after you lay that white foundation down with your gesso. So our mission here is to ultimately make a nice, colorful, cool sky. Now, I'm purposely not putting clouds in this one just because I want the attention to come to the foreground of what we're going to be doing here. But if you want to add in clouds, it's totally up to you. This is your masterpiece. So again, we're gonna stay on the cool side of the color wheel. We'll be using blues, violets, green, and white for the most part for this painting.
Excuse me, Aaron.
Yes.
What colors do I use to make violet?
If you don't have any, you can use a blue and a red.
Red and blue, okay.
Yes. Yep. More blue than red. Little red as possible because we want this to stay cool.
Okay.
Um,
Thanks.
Yep, no problem. Okay, so I pretty much have my sky where I want it. I give folks some time to fill in. And I've gone about 3/4 of my canvas down as far as how far I came down with the sky. Just to give us some extra room to play around, to make some other things happen. When you mix that gesso in with the white, it should keep your paint fairly moist. So you can just keep pushing this and pulling paint on your canvas. I'm constantly keeping my brush moving. Even though I'm barely touching the canvas, I'm constantly fanning, I'm pulling that color in to each other. All right. I'm gonna clean my brush out and start to define my depth here. Um, my horizon line, we're gonna just add in some mountains. I'm just taking a little bit of this raw sienna with some white. Okay. And I'm just gonna take my brush flat and I'm just gonna drop some mountains in right there. Yep, keeping it flat and just dropping them in. And over here. Again, I'm just keeping my brush pretty flat, nice and firm on the canvas, on the angle, so I get that nice mountain tip, and I'm just pulling it down a little bit. That's all I'm doing. Color down. So this is a pretty light because it's far away. That's why I went light on this raw cyan. I toned it down with some white to give it the illusion that it's farther away from us. And now I'm just going to take some white paint. I'm going to go with a smaller brush. And I'm going to put some white in with the raw cyan I already have. And then I'm just going to drop some snow on the top of these mountains here. One side. I'm going to the top of the mountain with a little bit of white, and I'm just adding some snow on these caps. Little highlight with snow coming all the way down the mountain. Okay. All right. So got a little snow on these guys now. I'm going to start putting these mountains in front of each other by doing this. I'm going to come here and I'm going to keep this highlight white. And then I'm just going to come down all the way over this other mountain here. See that nice edge? I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm come down and lay this mountain right in front of this guy. Now I have some depth and space between my mountains. Just by adding in that white highlight, that happened. Okay. Now I'm going to come behind that white highlight with some darker cyan, raw cyan, excuse me. And then we're just going to color this mountain behind it a little bit of darker so we see that shadow behind there indicating that it's behind this mountain that we just highlighted. Just creating a little bit of shadow back here. Okay. These mountains are getting real here. Remember, you just need a light highlight right next to a darker highlight to make the illusion of depth. Coming in here, I'm just adding more detail to these mountains. Okay. Okay. Now, I pretty much have my mountains established, have my background in. I want to create some water flow happening here. So this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to take my cobalt blue, take some violet, a little bit of white, and I'm going to come in here right under my mountain here, and I'm just going to paint back and forth like that. Don't, now you want to get wider as you go down to the bottom. Nice and loose. Back and forth. Okay, so I got a little bit too much violet in there, so I'm going to come with some more cobalt blue. And I'm going to go over that. Okay. So again, as things go far away, they get lighter. So I'm going to add some white up here, since this should be lighter. Okay. So we are creating our water. And I kind of want this to be icy water. So we can make this an ice effect just by putting in more white in here. Not too much white though. You want to see that color of the blue and the violet coming through. But I'm going nice back and forth because I want this to be still flat, icy water, almost like a sheet of ice over it. Okay. Okay. So it should feel like you're in the middle of winter. You need a coat out here. Adding in a little bit more white here. I want more frost on this. And I'm just, again, I'm barely touching the canvas. Very light, very light. I'm just flicking this white right over top here. And it's okay if the paint breaks because that's going to create a little frost on the ice for you. turn that water into ice. For today, we're almost wrapped up. What I do want to do is I want to create a little waterfall in here in those mountains. So this is how I'm going to have that happen. I'm going to take a little bit of white and just a tad bit of cobalt blue, even less. So I'm going to make like a baby blue, a very light baby blue. And I'm going to come in here in these mountains, in between any mountain, and I'm going to trickle down some water for a waterfall. Get some water falling back there in between these mountains. And I'm just going straight down. The next phase, when we come back to revisit this next week, we are going to come back in here and put more detail after everything's dried up a little bit. Just because of time purposes for the class duration. We're going to be stopping here at this point. So now I have my waterfall. And at the bottom of that, I'm going to take pure white, titanium white, and I'm just going to indicate some splash. Barely tap in the canvas. Now, we have water. We have our waterfall. Okay. Out here. Art class. Well, this is a lot better than the art class on Friday. It's like, it's so and I told, you hear what I told? Oh, hold on 1 second, so I was still in class. So, no, you're fine. So we're just finishing up this waterfall now. I put in the bottom splashes where it's falling down. And I just added a little bit of cobalt blue with some white. Okay. Very light, because you want to just indicate that distance back there. Because again, when things are farther away, they're a little lighter. So we're going to stop right here. And again, we'll pick up next week. We'll start adding in more detail with throwing some trees, come back and hit this water. And we're going to make this a nice, cool feeling winter wonderland using cool colors on our color wheel, on our color palette. All right. So hope to see you guys next week. I definitely enjoyed this again, as usual. And hopefully everybody has a good week. And we'll see you guys soon. Take care. All right. Bye-bye now. Any questions before we go or get out of here? Angela, Susan, any questions? Going once?
No, I'm just way behind. I'm just going to have to try to catch up.
Okay, got you. Yeah, again, sorry about that technical issue earlier. Hopefully we'll be situated next week.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Have a good week.
You too. Take care. I'm getting I feel bad. This is our last week for this session coming up next week.
I know.
Yeah, it went fast.
I'll miss this. Wow.